Hello, everyone. This is Rebecca Dowling, Assistant Superintendent of Stormwater Quality here at the City of Oklahoma City. I'd like to officially welcome everyone to the February edition of our 2022 monthly Stormwater webinar series. We will begin momentarily, so I wanted to provide some information to help enhance everyone's experience during the presentation today. In order to reduce background noise, we ask that everyone keep themselves muted during the presentation. If anyone has any questions during the presentation, feel free to type them into chat. Brooke, Varick, and I will be monitoring chat for questions. And we will have our speaker answer as many questions as we have time for today. If anyone would like to receive a certificate of attendance for today's webinar, please send Heavenly Mendenhall an email to request it, and I'll put her email address into chat at this time, so that way you'll have it handy. Each of our presentations in this webinar series will be available within a week or so, hopefully, after the scheduled webinar date on our website under Stormwater Workshops. January's edition was posted a little bit late due to key personnel being out sick, so unfortunately sometimes these things happen, but it is available now. So if anyone missed last month's, feel free to check that out on our website. The section where these webinars posted is called Our 2022 Webinar Series, and today's session, of course, will be the February edition. I'll post a link to that website where you can find those presentations toward the end of today's program. If anyone has any questions at this time, feel free to type them into chat. But without further ado, I will begin a very short welcome presentation for our series. Sorry about that.
Good afternoon and welcome to our monthly Stormwater Quality webinar series. We're excited to continue providing monthly opportunities to learn how you can help keep our local waterways clean. Remember, we're all downstream from someone else, so we all need to work together to protect our waterways. During this series, you will have the opportunity to hear from some of our own stormwater quality staff, as well as several guest speakers. March will feature our first guest speaker of the year, Natalie Evans from OKC Beautiful. The webinar series continues with topics from water conservation, the DEQ, a feature in September discussing the utilization of compost for erosion control, and topics from wastewater utilities. We hope to see you each month, so be sure to tune in. As we've briefly mentioned, each of the presentations will be available online within a week or so after the presentation is aired live. It will be available on the workshops section of our Stormwater Quality website. I'll post a direct link to that page into chat toward the end of today's presentation. It seems that we're being rather ambitious this year since we're adding virtual lunch and learns to the mix. You will need to register for each of these events separately. You can always reach out to Brooke for more information. She will be sending out a registration announcement closer to the event date for the April session. Some of the vendors sponsoring these events have new products and tools that you may not have heard of before, so be sure to tune into these presentations. You could learn something new, which might help streamline your stormwater protection practices. As always, anytime we provide information regarding specific vendors or products, it's not to be considered an endorsement. We provide the information to help you in your research to determine the best products and services that will benefit your own stormwater program. These will not be available on our website, but a recording will be available via email to those who inquire. Some of our presentations will be live and some will be pre-recorded. We do our best to provide as much detailed, accurate information as possible, while also working with the presenter's strengths and their schedule. We live and work in a beautiful community here in Oklahoma City. For more information about stormwater, what we're up to, and local regulations, be sure to visit our website.
All right, thank you for your attention to that. Up next is our main presentation for today's webinar. Today we're going to hear from the Industrial Section Supervisor, Chris Stewart. Chris has been the Stormwater Quality Industrial Section Supervisor since June of last year. He has spent the last 18 years as part of the stormwater quality team, working in the household hazardous waste and environmental sections before taking on the role of industrial supervisor. Chris has helped, establish Oklahoma City's household hazardous waste collection facility back in 2003. So if you have any questions about that, you can always ask him about the household hazardous waste facility. He has a bachelor's degree in biological sciences from Oklahoma State University. Go Pokes! An interesting fact about Chris is that a few years ago, he hiked across the Grand Canyon and back. All right. So again, if anyone has any questions today during today's presentation, be sure to type them into chat. Chris, go ahead and share your screen and begin your presentation.
Thank you very much, Rebecca.
Welcome everyone, and we appreciate you all taking part in our webinar series. Today, I'm going to talk about how your stormwater pollution prevention plan is a living document and how you, as a permittee or vendor for a permittee, should be reviewing your plan often. Your stormwater pollution prevention plan could be a very useful and helpful tool for your facility. Your stormwater pollution prevention plan identifies potential pollutant sources and your plan to control pollutants from leaving your site. Your stormwater pollution prevention plan, if utilized correctly, could save you time and money annually. However, it is important to continually review your stormwater pollution prevention plan so all your processes, materials, and personnel are updated as changes occur at your site. We cannot talk about the stormwater pollution prevention plan without also talking about the notice of intent. What is a notice of intent and how does it tie into your stormwater pollution prevention plan? Your notice of intent is your application for a permit with the Oklahoma Department of Environmental Quality and your permitting municipally separate storm sewer system entity. The notice of intent must be submitted to DEQ 14 days prior to operation or at least 30 days if the facility is located within a corridor or area of federal and state sensitive waters and watersheds or located in a watershed with an approved TMDL report or watershed plan in lieu of a TMDL. Your stormwater pollution prevention plan should be developed prior to the notice of intent. Then you would fill out the notice of intent based on your stormwater pollution prevention plan. According to the EPA, the Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan is a site-written document that identifies the potential sources of stormwater pollution at a facility, describes stormwater control measures that are used to reduce or eliminate environmental pollutants in a stormwater discharge, and identifies procedures the operator will use to comply with the terms of your state's general industrial stormwater permit. So why do we need a notice of intent and a stormwater pollution prevention plan? They provide you with a clear understanding of what you plan to do to reduce pollution in your stormwater runoff, and they clarify to the permitting entity who you are, where you are, what you do, and your possible pollutant liabilities or concerns. Remember, your notice of intent is based on your stormwater pollution prevention plan, so you should complete the stormwater pollution prevention plan prior to filling out your notice of intent. Always double check that both documents match prior to submitting either. The Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan is a tool to assist permittees, inspectors, and other authorities in ensuring and documenting that effluent limits are met. I will be referencing sections specified on the OKR05 Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan template throughout this presentation. If you do not use the OKR05 Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan template, you will need to work with your Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan layout. The information in the template is the same information required in all stormwater pollution prevention plans, whether the template is used or not. Oklahoma City does require all new permittees to submit their stormwater pollution prevention plan on the DEQ template form. Where can you find the templates online, you might be asking? I have added the website links on this slide, and I will be putting the link into chat now. We have stormwater pollution prevention plan examples that you can use to help fill out your stormwater pollution prevention plan. please ask your inspector to reserve one. If there are any conflicts between a form or the OK R05, always refer to the OK R05 permit as the final rule. Here is what the website for the Department of Environmental Quality templates look like. The Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan template layout takes you from who is responsible for your stormwater pollution prevention plan to your facility information. From there, you use the information about your facility to build your stormwater control measures, the procedures and schedules to maintain and verify your control measures are working, and other documentation you might need regarding your stormwater pollution prevention plan. The first page tells everyone for whom the stormwater pollution prevention plan is intended, who at the facility is responsible for it, and who prepared it and when. Your pollution prevention team must have qualified personnel to assist with the duties listed in your stormwater pollution prevention plan. As employees change positions or are added to your site, be sure to update your stormwater pollution prevention plan with any new members and remove anyone no longer on your pollution prevention team. So, what are qualified personnel? The EPA defines qualified personnel as those who possess the knowledge and skills to assess conditions and activities that could impact stormwater quality at your facility and who can evaluate the effectiveness of control measures. In Section 1.2 Facility Information, this is the physical address to your facility. Do not forget to add your sector identification along with your SIC code. You can find your latitude and longitude by utilizing the DEQ GIS data viewer. And when entering your latitude and longitude, please use the decimal degrees for the latitude and longitude at the entrance to your facility. Do not forget to add the negative to the longitude, and please carry your numbers to 6 digits after the decimal point. And lastly, add the correct acres for your site. If you have any changes to your site over time, please update your stormwater pollution prevention plan accordingly. The facility contact information includes your site information and who the owner of your company is. The stormwater pollution prevention plan contact here should match the first pages of your stormwater pollution prevention plan contact. In the activity at the facility, you would describe what you do at your facility. For example, if you are an automobile salvage yard, then you would write down the dismantling of vehicles for sale, moving vehicles with off-road forklifts, draining of vehicle fluids, and vehicle maintenance if applicable. Section 2.2, if your business is in Oklahoma City, then Oklahoma City is the MS4 operator. If you are outside of Oklahoma City, you will need to verify with your local municipality if they are the MS4 operator. And just for clarification, as we get this question often, if water leaves your site within the city of Oklahoma City limits, you discharge to Oklahoma City's MS4. Oklahoma City's MS4 includes all conveyances of stormwater, a grassy swell, the curb of the street, or an engineered storm drainage system. And then lastly, are you subject to effluent limitations listed on Table 1.1 of the 2017 MSGP OKR05? I've added the table on the next slide for reference. Table 1.1 provides you with the specific 40 CFR sections to reference if you fall into one of the multi-sector general permit sectors, MSGP and SIC codes listed and have the specified regulated discharges. If you do fall into one of these regulated discharges, you will need to mark yes on 2.2. So do you have any stormwater dischargers that must comply with the fluent limitation guidelines listed on Table 1.1 of the 2017 Multi-Sector General Permit OKR05? The next section covers your stormwater outfall information. You will need to do a complete site assessment during a qualifying rain event so you can identify all the areas where stormwater is leaving your site. Be sure to record the latitude and longitude of each outfall when doing your site assessment. These outfalls will be marked on your site map. When entering your outfall information, please use the decimal degree for the latitude and longitude. Do not forget to add the negative to the longitude, and please carry the decimal degrees to 6 digits. You can utilize the DEQ's GIS map website or the EPA's Stormwater Discharge Mapping Tools website to help clarify what water body your stormwater discharges into. I pasted the DEQ map earlier, and I will paste the EPA site into chat now. Once you have identified the water body name and water body identification number, you can fill out your stormwater outfall information. The ODEQ GIS map will show you the outstanding resource water or sensitive waters and watersheds, the specific impairments, and TMDLs, if any are applicable to that water body. Make sure you mark the appropriate yes or no and list any impairments for your receiving water body. The 303D list is updated every 2 years, so please review any changes to your receiving water body as necessary to make sure you do not miss an update. If you have any substantially identical outfalls, you would list them at the bottom of this page. Here is a quick view of the DEQ GIS Data Viewer Map website. As I stated before, be sure to check the DEQ GIS Data Viewer Map every year that the 303D and TMDL lists are updated to make sure any changes to your receiving water body are updated. If you need any help identifying your water body or any impairments, please reach out to your inspector. Sections 2.3 and 2.4 includes the maps of your facility. You can insert the maps here or add a note that they will be found in Section 9 attachments of your Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan. General location maps are big overviews of where you are located. Your map must provide enough detail to identify the location of your facility and all receiving waters from your stormwater discharges. Your site map is a more detailed map showing where things are at your location. For example, outfall locations, structural BMPs, buildings, and runoff flow. If you add impervious areas, buildings, process areas, or other changes to your site, be sure to update your map when those occur. When you do your routine facility inspection during a qualifying rain event, be sure to check for any changes to the terrain around your site. If an outfall changes occur, be sure to update your stormwater pollution prevention plan accordingly. Here are two examples of general location maps that we took from the DEQ's completing instructions for DEQ's Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plans template. Here is an example of a site map. Notice the details included in this map. Remember, this map will need to be updated with any changes to structures, grading, or other activities at your site. The next part of your stormwater pollution prevention plan is Section 3, Potential Pollutant Sources. You could possibly review your standard operating procedures to clarify what work is being done or planning to be done and what equipment will be used on site. This is also a time when you can look at your safety data sheets for the chemicals you store or use on site. You will also list any non-stormwater discharge information, any salt or coal storage piles, and your historical sampling information. In 3.1, you will want to list all your industrial activities. This can or should be updated as work changes at your site. Did you stop or start washing parts? Did you add any outside maintenance activities? In 3.2, you will list all potential pollutants. I would suggest you review your safety data sheets as new products are used at your site to update your stormwater pollution prevention plan as necessary. Lastly, in section 3.3, we want to record any spills or leaks that occur at your site. Accidents happen. Your inspector will not look at any spills recorded here negatively. And remember, all your spills should be accompanied by a corrective action plan. We will talk about those later in this presentation. Remember, this page should be updated as spills happen. When you update the information in section 3, be sure to log those changes in your Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan modification log located in section 8 of the OKR05 Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan template. For section 3.4, allowable non-stormwater discharges, you will need to document any that might occur on your site. Examples are condensation from air conditioning units, lawn irrigation, or draining of any fire suppression system. Describe what you found, list all the outfalls affected by this discharge and any BMPs you will use to reduce the impact this discharge has on water quality. Section 3.5, unauthorized stormwater discharges. Make sure you write down when and how you did your testing or evaluation, what you found or did not find, and any outfalls affected by this discharge. You cannot leave this section blank. If applicable, fill in any information you have in section 3.6 or 3.7. If not applicable, please write not applicable. When you first write your stormwater pollution prevention plan, you will not have any sampling data, so you can write new facility, no data available. Now you should be updating this annually or when you update your stormwater pollution prevention plan. You should look back at your sampling data and write a brief summary of what was found if applicable. This should be updated regularly if you have any analytical requirements for your site. If you do not have any sampling requirements, when you update your stormwater pollution prevention plan, you could add no sampling was required over the past year or 2 years, etc. You could add a section in your stormwater prevention plan book for all analytical results to be kept with your stormwater pollution prevention plan. And I will talk about your stormwater pollution prevention plan book at the end of this presentation. What are you using to reduce pollutants at your site? You should list those in this next section. These are the physical things you are doing, your best management practices, housekeeping plans, what you will do in case of a spill, etc. This section is filled out from the requirements in section 3, 4.2.4, and 11 of the 2017 OKR05. The information here should address the pollutants you identified in section 3.1 of your stormwater pollution prevention plan. If there is a section that is not applicable to your site, do not leave it blank, please. Add not applicable in the text box. The more detail here, the better. We would like to read these sections and have a clear understanding of what your facility will be doing for each section subject. On this slide, we continue with 4.1.7 salt storage and 4.1.8 dust generation or tracking. Then you will need to fill in 4.2 sector-specific applicable non-numeric effluent limits. This will cover only certain sectors. This information can be found in Part 11 of the 2017 OKR05. The next section of the Oklahoma Department of Environmental Quality Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan template covers applicable numeric effluent limitations guidelines based limits. Applicable numeric effluent limitations for coal pile runoff water quality-based effluent limitations, and requirements related to endangered species and historic properties. Applicable numeric effluent limitations, again, only certain sectors are required to fill in this section. Table 3.1 of the OKRO5 lists the applicable effluent limitation guidelines for each respective sector. You will need to have analytical done for your stormwater runoff each calendar year. You will need to submit that information to the ODEQ via their eDMR website. If you are permitted with your MS4, you will need to provide them with a copy of this analytical. The results are due January 15th of the following operating year. You will want to write down what limitations you are required to meet and what BMPs you will be using to meet these limitations. 4.4 coal pile runoff information is found in Table 3.2, where it lists the applicable effluent limitations for coal storage pile runoff. If you do not have any coal piles at your site, please write "not applicable" in the text box. Your stormwater discharge must meet the water quality standards set for the water body or watershed into which you discharge. Be sure to identify any 303D information or TMDL information here and how you will control those specific impairments in your stormwater runoff. For section 4.6, endangered species or historic properties, you will list any information as to an endangered species or any historic property requirements here. Section 5 goes over when and how, in detail, you plan to use and maintain the BMPs you had previously listed. We have provided some examples of good housekeeping practices you can use. Good housekeeping. List what specific procedures you will be doing and when you will be doing them. For spill prevention and response procedures, what BMPs do you have on site to deal with any spills? Do you have an SPCC plan at your location? If you do, you can reference that here. Make sure your emergency spill notification numbers are updated with any personnel changes. What preventative maintenance do you do at your site? Do you have your forklift maintained monthly, semi-annually, every 500 hours? Where is that maintenance being done and by whom? What other equipment do you maintain? Your filter bags or any product transportation lines? And unless your site is all concrete, you will need to identify and create a plan to control any erosion and associated sediment at your location. Be sure to list any scheduled inspections for monitoring these controls. Your site will have stormwater runoff. What will you be doing to control that stormwater runoff? Do you have settling ponds, riprap at your outfalls, or retention sections in your stormwater runoff channels to slow down the water? And then, if applicable, what are you doing to reduce runoff from salt storage piles, and when do you check them? If not applicable, please write "not applicable" in the box. The next sections of your procedures and schedules identify your employee training, routine facility inspections, corrective actions, monitoring, and your annual report. For employee training, be sure to list who is responsible for your training. If that changes, be sure to update your stormwater pollution prevention plan. When do you plan on doing the training? The minimum is annually. We do recommend that you include stormwater training with new employee training. Who will be doing the inspections? When will they be done? They must be done at least quarterly, unless you fall under a sector that requires more frequent inspections, and at least one annually needs to be done during a qualifying rain event. We do suggest you utilize the DEQ's routine facility inspection template, as it contains all the information you need to properly document a facility inspection. If you qualify for an inactive or unstaffed site, Make sure you document it here. Write down who will be managing corrective actions and how will they be followed through. Do any of the monitoring activities apply to your facility? If yes, mark the appropriate box besides each, then fill in the appropriate text box in the following sections. All facilities are required to do quarterly visual monitoring. List who will be responsible for doing the monitoring, what sample locations, and possibly list the collection procedures. Some locations might require specific equipment to obtain your sample. You would identify that equipment here. Write down the schedule for conducting the sampling and monitoring. These must be done after a qualifying storm event, which is 0.1 inches or more of rain, in which at least it has been 72 hours since the last qualifying rain event, according to the EPA's 40 CFR 122.21. You must obtain the sample within the first 30 minutes of the rainfall. You only need to take a quarterly visual monitoring during your normal business hours. We do suggest that you use the DEQ's quarterly visual monitoring template for documenting your quarterly visual monitoring. If you have substantially identical outfalls, you need only take one representative sample for the outfalls. These outfalls need to be identified in section 2.2 Stormwater Outfall Information. Remember, if you miss a quarterly visual monitoring, you must document why you missed it, and you must complete a makeup quarterly visual monitoring the following quarter. If you are required to do any annual effluent limitations or impaired water monitoring, you would enter that information here. If these do not apply to you, please enter "not applicable" in the relevant text box. Annual effluent limitations, sectors A, C, D, E, J, K, L, O, and S, each has different effluent limitations. Be sure to identify your specific sector's numeric limitations. Your water body or watershed will have different impairments. List each impairment's information in this section. Your discharge monitoring report is to be submitted to the DEQ electronically, and if you have a City of Oklahoma City stormwater discharge permit, please submit a copy of your results to your inspector for our records. If you have identified your site as inactive or unstaffed, check the box here. If you have substantially identical discharge points or outfalls, list them here and the information requested. This section is a reminder that your ACER is due by March 1st of the following operating year. So your 2021 ACER, which is a recap of all your activities in 2021, is due March 1st, 2022. Be sure to keep a copy of your ACERs in your Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan book. By utilizing a 3-ring binder with tabs, you can easily add these annually. In Section 6, Documentation to Support Other Eligibility, you would add any documentation here for your endangered species, historic properties, or unauthorized non-stormwater discharges. In Oklahoma City, there's only one section of the South Canadian River that has listed endangered species. If your stormwater discharges into a water body that has a listed endangered species, you would follow the requirements of OKRO5 Part 1.8.7. If your site is a historic property, you would list that here, and you would follow the requirements of OKRO5 Part 1.8.10. You would add any supporting documents, tests, or evaluations for the presence of any unauthorized non-stormwater discharges here in accordance with OKRO5 Part 4.2.6.3. We are just about finished with the Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan. We will next be covering the certifications, modifications, and any attachments you might be including with your Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan. Make sure you read what you are signing, as this is a legal document. The person signing this must be an authorized person, and remember, with staff changes, make sure the person that signed your Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan and Notice of Intent still works for you. This certification must be re-signed in the event of a Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan modification in response to a Part 6 trigger for corrective action or design issue. This section should have every change you have done to your Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan since you first wrote it. Many of these modifications could come from your corrective actions. You might also have changes to your address, phone numbers, personnel, or other facility changes listed here. If you make changes to any section of your Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan, you need to document in Section 8 what has been modified. This should include the description of the modification, the name of the person making it, and signature of that person. The ODEQ Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan modification log can be put here. Section 9 can include all the possible documents to be kept in your Stormwater Prevention Plan book. The final page of your Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan template lists a possible order for storing all of your documents for your Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan. As we mentioned earlier, you must keep your Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan and associated documents accessible during normal business hours. We suggest you create a Stormwater Prevention Plan book to organize all these items. OKRO5 Part 4.5 lists what documentation is required to be kept with your Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan. Make sure there are multiple people at your facility that understand and have access to your Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan book. On the following slides, we will talk about ways you can organize your Stormwater Prevention Plan book. 3-ring binders allow you to easily add new items. I would suggest labeling the front, back, and spine of your book. If your book covers multiple years, you can add the years to the cover and spine in case you need to archive it, or if you ever need to retrieve it in the future. You might also put the year of the OKRO5 on the cover of your book. Anything you might think that will help you could be written on the outside of the binder. You must retain copies of your Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan and other documents for a period of at least 3 years from the date that your coverage under this permit expires or is terminated per OKRO5 Part 8.6. Here is a suggested layout for your Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan book. Once again, we suggest the use of a large 30-ring binder and the use of tabs and a table of contents. Your tab sections could be as follows: a copy of your Notice of Intent, your permits from your MS4 and/or the Oklahoma Department of Environmental Quality, any documents related to permit renewals, your current Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan, and we suggest that you tab the certification page specifically. Copies of your ACERs, any facility inspection records. The DEQ has a template for this form that contains all the required documentation. Remember, your Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan will describe how often you are required to complete a routine facility inspection. Use these to help guide any changes to your Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan. You can also include inspector inspection reports in this section. You would add your quarterly visual monitoring records and any other monitoring requirements, such as sector-specific monitoring or impaired waters. Next, you can list your corrective actions. Remember, having something listed here is not a bad thing. It reinforces that you are doing your inspections and monitoring correctly. Then you'll have your annual training, possibly any inspections from other authorities, any stormwater pollution prevention plan modifications, equipment maintenance logs, or BMP maintenance. Make sure your stormwater pollution prevention plan is accessible during working hours. I would suggest not keeping it in a locked cabinet or drawer, and do not be the only person who knows where to find it. Be sure to properly archive the older versions in case they are ever needed. Make sure to write the changes made in your stormwater pollution prevention plan modification log, which will be retained with the current stormwater pollution prevention plan. When necessary, provide a modified notice of intent or stormwater pollution prevention plan to your permitting agency. And what could happen if you do not update your plan regularly? Depending on what is not updated, you could be in violation of your permit. And remember, the person signing the notice of intent and stormwater pollution prevention plan certifications must be a current employee. How often should you review your stormwater pollution prevention plan? I would suggest annually at least, or with any changes to your facility's normal operations. Who could be involved in the review? The members of your pollution prevention team, or you can ask your stormwater inspector for guidance. And what should you consider? Well, any changes in persons, equipment, locations, processes, materials used, phone numbers, changes to your physical property, changes to the 303D water bodies or TMDLs, new rules or regulations, and any corrective actions. These corrective actions can be considered one of your best friends. Corrective actions show that you are taking your stormwater pollution prevention plan seriously. You have noted deficiencies in either training, a workflow, or a BMP, and then you write a plan to correct these issues and log those changes in your stormwater pollution prevention plan. I appreciate your time today and hope you found this presentation helpful. Here is the current Oklahoma City territory map showing which inspectors are responsible for which parts of Oklahoma City. Should you have any questions we did not answer today, please reach out to your inspector or myself. At this time, if you have any questions, please enter them in chat or we will answer your questions already entered. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Chris. What a great presentation and such interesting information. As Chris mentioned, if anyone has any questions, be sure to type them into chat at this time. I don't see any at this point. We did post a couple of links during Chris's presentation, so be sure to check those out so you can click on those. Up next, our Community Relations Coordinator, Brooke Varick, will provide some information on local stormwater quality programs and events. Brooke, if you're ready, go ahead and share your screen and conduct your presentation, please.
Thank you, Rebecca. Okay, has it come up yet?
Yes, we can see it.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm just gonna do a few reminders for upcoming events and outreach information and opportunities for you guys. It's real short today. If it will advance, there we go. This Saturday, we are having an event at Memorial Park. It is a rain garden installation along with a park cleanup. The city was awarded a community challenge grant from AARP to renovate 2 of the landscape beds in Memorial Park parking lot into a rain garden. This, in theory, will help with some of the flooding problems that they have in the area when they have heavy rain events. So again, that event is going to be this Saturday at Memorial Park, 1150 Northwest 36th Street. It's free to attend, more the merrier. We're going to be doing a short talk about rain gardens and the project, and then followed by a trash cleanup with some goodie giveaways, and that'll be from 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Anyone is welcome. If you have questions, feel free to email me, or you can just show up that day. We will have plenty of supplies. A reminder that we do have our special collection coming up on April 2nd. So this is going to be for Oklahoma City residents only. It will be collecting tires, medication, ammunition, and computers for free disposal, and it will be held at the state fairgrounds. And then don't forget, we do have our rain barrels for sale again. These are upcycled products made with recycled materials. The pickup day for rain barrels is going to be Saturday, May 7th and Saturday, May 14th. Our orders are due April 24th if you're doing a mail-in order, or Sunday, May 1st if you're doing an online order. And the basic rain barrels cost $66.50. Again, they are sold through Upcycle Products. This is a picture of one of the rain barrels. They come in several different colors and options. And then lastly, just a reminder, our volunteer programs. We do have 3 volunteer programs available for businesses, residents, just anyone that wants to participate. Our Adopt a City Street program, our Waterway Clean Sweep program, and our Curbs to Creeks program. So if you're interested in learning more about any of these or seeing what's going to be the best fit for you, your group, your business, let me know. Our first open waterway cleanups will be in April, and we will announce those dates probably in March, but those will be available for anyone to sign up and come out and help clean up a local waterway in the OKC area. So be on the lookout for those. If you haven't signed up for our newsletter and you want volunteer information, feel free to let me know, and I can also get you signed up for our newsletter that comes with those volunteer opportunities. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. You can type them in the chat, or you can probably unmute yourself. That is all I have today, so I will return the control back to Rebecca.
All right, thank you so much, Brooke. I didn't see any questions in chat at this time for your presentation. We did have one person ask for a PDF of Chris's presentation. So Chris, I'll get you their contact information here in a little bit, and we should be able to get that to you. All right. As a reminder, if anyone would like to receive a certificate of attendance for today's presentation, please send one of our staff members, Heavenly Mendenhall, email to request it. I did post that into chat again. We ask that you don't request certificates in chat because we may not have your email address associated to your username on Teams. We should be able to get certificates out this week, hopefully. As I've mentioned, a recording of today's presentation will be available on our website in the next week or so. Gosh, COVID has hit our office pretty hard, as I'm sure it's hit everyone in some form or fashion. So bear with us if we're not 100% on some of our timelines here, but we're doing our best. So I'm going to go ahead and put the link for the website for where you can view those presentations. Put that into chat now. And I think that's all we have today. So we're going to wrap up a few minutes early. We will hang out here for just a few minutes in case someone does have any questions. We'll be happy to answer those here in just a minute. Thank you all for attending today's session. I hope everyone enjoyed the presentation. We'll see you next month, I hope, on March 16th at 1 p.m. for the next installment in our Stormwater webinar series. That presentation will be provided by Natalie Evans from OKC Beautiful. Hope everyone has a great afternoon. Thank you, Harold. All right, you guys have a great day, and we'll see you soon.